Good day, everyone, and welcome to today's session on what's new with Windows on AWS. My name is Mayur Devaikar, and I'm a senior product manager with the EC2 enterprise team at AWS. In today's session, we will start by talking about what we are hearing from our customers in terms of their needs and how that is guiding our product roadmap investments. Then I'll dive into four areas in which we have made recent product updates. The first is around platform, in which I will discuss updates we have made around our core platform, which includes announcements related to compute as well as storage. Then I will talk about the announcements we have made around improving the overall user experience around Windows on AWS. The third topic I want to cover will be around pricing and licensing improvements we have made on our service. And lastly, I will cover recent announcements around modernization of Windows workloads, which allows customers to take advantage of cloud-native services on AWS. Following the presentation, we'll do a round of Q&A to take any questions you may have. So with that, let's get started. I have intentionally split this customer insights slide to align with the four key areas we are going to cover today: platform, experiences, licensing and pricing, and modernization. We're a very customer-driven company, and the feedback we hear from our customers drives our product investments. So our customers are telling us that they're looking to drive even greater efficiencies and realize long-term cost savings. They are looking at right-sizing and reducing Windows Server and SQL Server license usage. Reliability and performance are more important than ever. Unplanned downtime across business-critical workloads can quickly undermine customer trust and employee productivity. And most of all, customers are struggling to figure out their path to the cloud, particularly in traditional enterprises with legacy systems. Figuring out what to move, how to move it, where to move it as is or transform it, what services to use, how to figure out the best tools. All of this are issues that our customers are struggling with. And because of this, the skill bar for getting to the cloud is extremely high, and it's moving even higher. Customers often find themselves in situations where they are trying to take their 20-plus-year-old legacy systems to the cloud and not having a lot of success with that. To help with the cloud journey, they want experienced partners that they can trust to support their digital transformation and migration to the cloud. And they want things to be easier. Another thing we keep hearing, especially as it pertains to Microsoft licensing, is that customers find Microsoft licensing to be a big challenge and extremely complex. Again, tools and services can help here, as can optimizing deployments to minimize these costs. And lastly, we're seeing a real uptick in customers taking a plunge on modernizing their Windows workloads. Customers such as Fannie Mae, Thomson Reuters, and Pfizer are just some of the customers who have started to use our tools to modernize their applications. Overall, how work gets done continues to shift, and customers are running increasingly diverse workloads in the cloud. We continue to focus on making AWS the best place to run Windows workloads. So I'm sure you've seen this slide many times if you've been to one of our Windows-related presentations, but I just want to make a quick point about it, which is that AWS was the first cloud provider to bring Windows workloads to the cloud, and that was 12 years ago. Since then, we have delivered year after year of innovation for our customers to help them easily bring and manage their Windows workloads on AWS. Last year alone, we did 69 new launches, and that is a lot of launches. So the point is that we continue to focus on Windows as we recognize that a large portion of enterprise customers are still running Windows workloads, and it is our goal to truly make AWS the best place to run Windows workloads. So let's start by talking about some of the platform announcements. One of the recent announcements was around R5B instances. As you may know, R5 instances are the next generation of memory optimized instances. They're well suited for memory intensive applications such as high performance databases or distributed web scale in memory caches, mid-size in-memory databases, real-time big data analytics, and other enterprise applications. Additionally, you can choose from a selection of instances that have options for local NVMe storage, EBS optimized storage, as well as networking speeds up to 100 gigs per second. The new Nitro-based R5B instance increases EBS performance by 3 times compared to the same sized R5 instance. These R5B instances can deliver up to 7,500 megabytes per second bandwidth and 260,000 IOPS of EBS performance, which is an order of magnitude more, and it's the fastest block storage performance on EC2 and in fact in any cloud out there. R5B can be used with another new service called Io2 Block Express to achieve up to 256,000 IOPS and 7,500 megabytes per second bandwidth with a single EBS volume. So who is this going to target, you might ask? This is going to target customers with database and analytic workloads that are on premises which need higher EBS bandwidth and throughput for their applications than is currently offered on a single instance. It is going to help large database deployments such as SQL Server, which are extremely I/O intensive. R5B instances allow customers to migrate on-premises workloads onto AWS without re-architecting their applications. In the past, some database customers may have been running their databases on a much larger instance to get higher EBS network storage performance, even though they don't really need additional compute and memory. Such customers will be able to right-size their instances by leveraging smaller instances and thereby reducing costs. Bottom line of all of this is that customers are going to get flexibility and choice with the ability to choose from a selection of almost 60 different instant choices with options for processors, whether they are Intel or AMD based, choice of instance storage, so it could be NVMe based or SSD based, EBS volume storage for NVMe and SSD, networking up to 100 gigs per second, and instance sizes to optimize both cost and performance for your workload needs. And you're going to get more memory options. R5 instances support high memory requirements for certain applications to increase performance and reduce latency. R5 instances also deliver more memory per vCPU, and the largest size, R5B 24 extra large, provides 668 gigabytes of memory, allowing customers to scale up and consolidate their workloads on a fewer number of instances. And lastly, the R5B instances allow you to maximize resource efficiency because R5B instances are powered by the AWS Nitro system, which is a combination of dedicated hardware and lightweight hypervisor, which delivers practically all the compute and memory resources of the host hardware to your instances. This frees up additional memory for your workloads, which boosts performance and lowers the dollar per gigabyte costs. One of the things we did was that we ran some tests to benchmark the performance of these new R5B instances. What we found in our performance testing was that it was 62% cheaper to run workloads on AWS from a price performance standpoint versus Azure. In the test setup, we used our R5B 8 extra large EC2 instance with GP2 storage to run SQL Server 2019 Enterprise Edition on AWS. Similarly, we used an E6432S v4 with premium SSD to run SQL Server 2019 Enterprise Edition on Azure. For testing the performance of the EC2 instance and Azure VM, we used the publicly available TPCC HammerDB benchmark tool and measured new orders per second, which is the equivalent of traditional TPMC used by TPC. In terms of results, first, on an IO intensive workload, the R5B 8 extra large with GP2 is 2 times faster than Azure E6432S v4 with premium SSD on TPCC sized at 1,000 warehouses. Next, we compared the price performance as a ratio of price per 1,000 new orders per minute. To achieve the same performance as AWS, the Azure VM is 2.6 times more expensive. Net of it is that AWS runs SQL Server faster than Azure. Now, looking at storage, there were a couple of cool announcements that recently came out. One of them is around EBS GP3 volumes, which are the latest generation of general purpose SSD-based EBS volumes that enable customers to provision performance independent of storage capacity, while providing up to 20% lower price per GB than existing GP2 volumes. With GP3 volumes, customers can scale IOPS and throughput without needing to provision additional block storage capacity. This means customers only pay for the storage they need. There are 3 specific benefits that customers get from this. The first is ease of use. The GP3 volumes take all the guesswork out of provisioning capacity and performance for your applications. You get sustained baseline performance of 3,000 IOPS and 125 megs at any volume size. This means that even if you don't provision any IOPS, your applications will consistently get this baseline performance, even for the smallest of volumes. For use cases where your applications need more performance than the baseline, you simply provision the IOPS or throughput you need without having to add more capacity. Higher performance and throughput is the second benefit. GP3 volumes make it easy and cost-effective for customers to meet the IOPS and throughput requirements for the majority of the applications, including virtual desktops, mid-sized single-instance databases such as SQL Server and Oracle, latency-sensitive interactive applications based on frameworks like Kafka and Spark, and test dev environments. The new GP3 volumes deliver a baseline performance of 3,000 IOPS and 125 megs per second at any volume size. Customers looking for higher performance can scale to 16,000 IOPS and 1,000 megs per second for an additional fee. And the third and last benefit is lower cost. GP3 offers SSD performance at a 20% lower cost per gig than GP2 volumes. Further, by decoupling storage performance from capacity, you can easily provision higher IOPS and throughput without the need to provision additional block storage capacity, thereby improving performance and reducing costs. Delivering consistent baseline performance in IOPS without bursting required for GP2 at lower cost. So this is a huge improvement with the GP3 storage volumes that we just noticed, as you'll notice in this slide. So moving on, we just do a comparison here between the GP3 and GP2 volumes. You get a baseline performance of 3,000 IOPS with GP3. Now, if you want to scale it higher, you can get up to 16,000 IOPS and 1,000 megabytes per sec bandwidth. Overall, the GP3 offers SSD performance, as I said, at 20% lower capacity than GP2. So you get the flexibility and performance at a lower cost. And as I mentioned earlier, you can scale performance independent of capacity, which is, again, a huge benefit for our customers. Another announcement that recently came out was Io2 Block Express. The IOPS performance of Io2 and Io1 helped customers move more of their most demanding applications to EBS. But there are some applications that Io2 cannot support without having to combine multiple volumes. For these applications, customers have historically had to rely on storage area networks, or SANs. With Io2 Block Express, customers can now get the storage capacity and IOPS performance of a SAN without the cost and management overhead. It's effectively a reinvention of EBS to deliver a block storage with the performance of a SAN and the benefits of a cloud. Io2 Block Express provides the best single volume IOPS and throughput in the cloud. It's powered by Bronx, which increases performance over Io2 by 300%, with up to 64 terabyte capacity and 256,000 IOPS and up to 4,000 megabytes per second of throughput. So you're essentially getting 4x the capacity at the same price. It also provides consistent sub-millisecond latency with 5 nines of I/O operations completing in less than 10 milliseconds. Io2 Block Express is ideal for the largest, most I/O intensive mission-critical deployments of Oracle, SAP HANA, Microsoft SQL, and SAS Analytics, applications that normally run on storage area networks. Block Express uses scalable, reliable datagrams, also known as SRD, a high-performance, low-latency network protocol to communicate with Nitro system-based EC2 instances. This is the same high-performance and low-latency network interface that is used for inter-instance communication in Elastic Fabric Adapter for high-performance computing and machine learning workloads. Additionally, Block Express offers modular software and hardware building blocks that can be assembled in many different ways, giving us the flexibility to design and deliver improved performance and new features at a faster rate. Io2 Block Express is available in preview today, and in the next few months, we're planning on releasing additional SAN features, including multi-attached, I/O fencing, fast snapshot restores, and elastic volumes. I mentioned a couple of things, and I wanted to just bring it all together to show you how this all applies to something like a SQL Server, which is one of the most common workloads we see in the Windows world. So in addition to what I mentioned, there are a few other things we launched related to the SQL Server workloads. Many of our SQL Server customers have told us that they were looking to migrate their SQL Server integration, reporting and analytics services, and deploy them on the same database instance as their RDS SQL to save costs. This year, we have added this support. Customers were also looking for an ability to offload their read workloads from primary database instances to replicas to improve performance. RDS for SQL Server now supports in-region read replicas for doing just that. Add this to the benefits of the previously mentioned instance and storage enhancements, and you'll see that this becomes a pretty nice package for running SQL Server instances on AWS. Finally, customers are looking for an ability to back up Windows applications and SQL Server databases on running instances without using custom scripts. For this, we have launched application consistent backup capabilities in AWS Backup for Windows also recently. The last platform feature that I'll touch on is Active Directory. With the new multi-region replication for managed Active Directory, customers can now get managed AD, which automatically configures inter-region networking connectivity, deploys domain controllers, and replicates all the Active Directory data across multiple regions, ensuring that Windows and Linux workloads residing in these regions can connect to and use AWS managed Microsoft AD with low latency and high performance. Customers can now synchronize all their directory data, including users, groups, group policy objects, as well as schema across multiple regions. And since it's managed, AWS handles automated software updates, monitoring, recovery, and the security of the underlying AD infrastructure across all of our regions, enabling customers to focus on building their applications. Now, before this new feature was launched, if customers wanted to go global with their AD, customers needed to create independent managed Microsoft AD directories in each region. They would then need to create a solution to synchronize data across the regions. Not only was this extremely complex and hard to manage, it was also a very costly solution. For this multi-region managed AD, customers pay by the hour for the domain controllers in each region, plus the cross-region data transfers, of course. This service will create 2 domain controllers in each region, just as an FYI. But you'll see that this makes the management of AD across multiple regions extremely simple for our customers. So now let's switch gears and talk a little bit about experiences. In this section, I'm going to talk about all the improvements we have made to make it easy to bring your Windows workloads on AWS and manage them easily on our platform. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the container images on EC2 Image Builder. If you're not familiar with Image Builder, it is our no-cost tool to simplify the building, testing, management, and deployment of virtual machine images. Managing virtual machines is a big task for our customers, as keeping these virtual machines and container images up to date is a time-consuming, resource-intensive, and if you make a mistake, it can be quite catastrophic. Many customers often manually update and then snapshot the VMs, or they have to set aside teams that build custom scripts to maintain these images. Image Builder significantly reduces the effort in keeping these images up to date and secure through a graphical user interface, which has built-in automation and AWS-provided security settings. Using Image Builder, you can set up an automation pipeline for building these images. We recently added support in Image Builder for container images. Now, customers can build and test container images that are compliant with the Open Container Initiative, OCI. Image Builder support for containers extends the same capabilities of managing VMs within the same tool. Customers can now easily automate the building, patching, testing, and distribution of not only their VMs, but also their container images from within Image Builder. With Image Builder, customers can generate an automated pipeline of secure and up-to-date Windows container images. So now, when new software updates become available, Image Builder automatically produces up-to-date container images and publishes them to Elastic Container Registry after running specified tests. This can greatly shorten the time to create and update container images, ultimately resulting in lower time and cost required to do image management. Another tool I want to talk about today is Launch Wizard. At AWS, we have a lot of different tools. Even with as many tools as we have, and sometimes because of this also, it can be hard to deploy a workload in the cloud. With complex workloads, this becomes even more the case. We have done studies with IT professionals, and there is consistent feedback on these challenges from enterprise customers that it is challenging for them to create these complex setups within our cloud. Launch Wizard is a tool that helps with this pain point. Launch Wizard is an enterprise-focused tool which provides GUI-based experience to size, configure, and deploy workloads on EC2 without needing to understand the underlying AWS resource in great detail. Customers don't need to jump around between consoles or worry if they are using the right service or setting. Each build follows a well-architected framework and best AWS practices. So the customers know that they are building something, they are being led through it, and it is done in the most optimal way. So with Launch Wizard, we were initially supporting SQL Server and SQL Server HA configurations, and also a variety of SAP deployments, including SAP HANA and NetWeaver applications. Another workload that is very popular with our customers is Active Directory. So we recently added support for self-managed Active Directory deployments. Now through Launch Wizard, you can easily set up two-way trust between both EC2 Active Directory and AWS Managed Active Directory as well. Another new launch in Systems Manager is App Manager, which enables customers to manage their applications from a single console. The new capability enables developers and operators to discover their applications, view operational data, and perform actions within the context of an application. And so it gives you the application view of what is going on. With this, you can do three main things. The first is discover application components and dependencies, such as the resources, configurations, and operational issues from various services that the customer is using. You can view your operational data from different sources in the context of these applications. And third, you can take action to manage these applications all from a single console, as well as remediate problems using automation runbooks in Systems Manager automation. Additionally, Application Manager automatically imports application resources created by Launch Wizard. It lists them in a Launch Wizard category for your management so you can differentiate them. Once these resources are imported, you can use the Application Manager console to view operations details and perform operation tasks such as the ones I just described. Similarly, you can also use runbooks or SSM automation documents provided by Launch Wizard from the Application Manager console to manage or remediate issues with application components or resources. Another new service within AWS Systems Manager is Fleet Manager. So Fleet Manager is a GUI-based console within Systems Manager, which allows system admins to view and administer their fleets of managed instances. It helps you visualize, streamline, and scale remote server management processes. Throughout this tool, you can work with Windows, Linux, or Mac OS servers, and it gives you a user-friendly interface which simplifies the management and troubleshooting of your fleet instances. These instances could be running on AWS or on premises, and they don't need to be remotely connected. Admins can perform tasks such as including file system exploration, log management, Windows registry operations, performance counters, as well as user management. Because Fleet Manager is operating system agnostic, you can also perform common OS-related operations seamlessly on Windows, Linux, and Mac operating system servers throughout the Systems Manager console. This is a service in which we will be bringing a lot of investments this year. So you will see new features coming out throughout the year, which will make this service even better. Another service I want to talk about is CloudWatch Application Insights. If you're not familiar with CloudWatch Application Insights, it is a service that can help you to easily set up your monitoring solution for your enterprise applications and quickly detect and diagnose common problems related to your applications, databases, load balancers, and underlying EC2 instances and infrastructure. It can provide you visibility into your application's health by setting up the appropriate monitoring data, such as metrics, logs, and alarms for your dotted applications and underlying resources. It is designed to provide an easy getting started experience. It intelligently analyzes your monitoring data from across the application stack to look for anomalies and errors in these metrics and logs using Amazon SageMaker powered algorithms. It creates Amazon CloudWatch automated dashboards for detected problems, summarizing the problem details, including problem severity, the source of the problem, any related alarms, and log errors, which helps you visualize the root cause of your application issues. Through the integration with AWS Systems Manager, it enables you to take quick remedial actions for the problems detected in the applications. Now, what we've introduced recently was a capability to auto-discover your applications. Previously, you had to select a tier within your application insights, whether it is a .NET, Java, or SQL Server, etc., to then set up your application monitoring. What we will do now is that we will auto-discover all the applications with your resource groups. We will pre-select the tier for you. We will assign the components. We will figure out the log paths for you, and we will set up these alerts and dashboards. So literally, with just a few clicks, you can be up and running with monitoring. What we have also added recently is a support for Java via the Prometheus plugin and also support for Oracle. Another big area of focus for our customers is TCO and licensing, and I'll walk you through a couple of new announcements within this area. One of the new features within the TCO and licensing area is a new Windows and SQL Server pricing calculator, which is now part of the overall AWS calculator. There are many calculators available for AWS, as you all might know. So then you might ask, why a specific calculator for Windows and SQL Server workloads? So there are a few reasons for this. Firstly, customers are unsure about how to price the AWS environment for the diversity of Windows and SQL workloads and the complexity of Microsoft licensing. It's difficult for them to compare with oftentimes misleading Azure pricing. Second, it is very time consuming and often too complicated to navigate different tenancy options. Due to these challenges, customers frequently over-provision and overprice their estimates. Lastly, customers don't know how to optimize their environments for cost or how to easily pull the levers to see what effect adjustments will make. So who should use this calculator and what does it do? So the calculator is targeted at late cloud adopters, basically customers with limited AWS knowledge and familiarity. It provides customers a simplified self-service price assessment for their on-premise workloads. It provides accurate price estimate for specific workloads and licensing configurations, and it includes options to cover scenarios for both license included as well as bring your own licenses, as well as tenancy options for shared tenancy, as well as dedicated hosts. This table shows you a quick overview of what is available now and what is coming. As you can see, the BYOL option for shared tenancy and SQL Server license included for dedicated host is coming up, but there's already a lot going on and a lot of options available and a lot of configurations available to start using this calculator to rightly estimate the size of your Windows and SQL footprint when it comes over to AWS. You can find the pricing calculator on the AWS pricing calculator page. There is a card for it all the way at the bottom on the page. We've had a number of customers who have tried the calculator so far, and the feedback to date has been really good. Customers find the calculator to be very helpful, and it helps them get through what is otherwise a fairly difficult challenge in their environments. You can see a couple of customer quotes on the slide to see just what our customers are saying about this newly launched calculator. Another feature that can help with managing costs is the Windows world is License Manager. If you're not familiar with it, License Manager is a one-stop solution for managing licenses from a variety of software vendors, including Microsoft, SAP, Oracle, IBM, both within AWS as well as on-premises. License Manager helps customers get control of their license usage by providing them a centralized view of license usage so the administrators can determine the right amount of licenses required and customers can align their purchases to the right number of licenses that they need. The service provides licensing consumption visibility so you can minimize overages and eliminate the penalties that can come from that particularly if you get into a licensing audit situation. License Manager came about because many organizations were managing licenses using simple spreadsheets to sometimes even building out custom solutions just for license management. Often these approaches were very manual and required ad hoc reporting that can be inaccurate and get out of date over time. With License Manager, administrators can create custom licensing rules, provision and track licenses across multiple regions of AWS, as well as on-premises environments. Rules are based on customer licensing agreements to prevent license violations, such as using more licenses than are available. These can help prevent licensing violations or notify you of any breaches. What was recently added was the automated discovery of software licenses, along with host management capabilities to bring these licenses into License Manager to simplify the management of these licenses. Best of all, there is no charge to use the service. Managed Entitlements is a new feature launched in AWS License Manager service recently. So this feature is a partnership between AWS Marketplace and AWS License Manager services. Both AWS customers as well as partners can take advantage of this new feature. License Manager managed entitlements enable customers to distribute, activate, and track software license purchases on AWS Marketplace. This helps customers automate and accelerate software license distribution and enables customer to track licenses from multiple independent software vendors, both on AWS as well as on-premises. This feature has a really nice value proposition. So AWS License Manager managed entitlements enable administrators to distribute, activate, and track third-party software procured in AWS across multiple AWS accounts for end users as well as workloads. Each time a customer purchases licenses from AWS Marketplace, the license is activated based on AWS IAM credentials, and the details are registered to AWS License Manager. AWS License Manager managed entitlements also provide built-in controls so that the ISVs can assign licenses to approved users and workloads. This new license management and mechanism also eliminates the need for ISVs to maintain their own licensing systems and conduct costly audits to keep track of them. While higher performance and lower costs are important benefits that License Manager brings, it has added flexibility license options so you can either bring your existing licenses to AWS or buy license included instances from AWS. The service continues to grow, so customers can centrally distribute, activate, and track licenses, such as just mentioned with my marketplace. License Manager can automatically detect software on EC2 instances. At the last reInvent, we added automated software discovery with tag-based searches, which shows resource tags in the search inventory. We also added automatic tracking for installs and uninstalls. When software is uninstalled, License Manager automatically detects the uninstallation and updates its centralized reporting and dashboard, allowing it to make these licenses available for reuse. Alerts can also be set up for licensing violations and to update licenses. Customers can also use custom-defined tags to discover and install software in their on-premise environments and have License Manager track the discovered instances throughout their lifecycle. Whether in AWS or on-premise, these tags can be used to identify what role their resources perform. For example, whether a resource belongs to a test dev or a prod environment, or which business unit is using that particular resource. License Manager also helps you proactively track licenses together with instance launches. Administrators can set it to attach license rules to their AMIs. This has been expanded in License Manager to support license enforcement with shared AMIs and cross-account AMI license tracking. By tracking instance launches across all their accounts, administrators can get a comprehensive view of their accounts, govern license usage proactively, and control licensing overages. License Manager supports Amazon EC2, AWS Marketplace, Amazon RDS, and on-premise environments. A recent addition is the capability to track Oracle database licenses on Amazon RDS. You can track your own licenses of Oracle database engines, options, and packs as you bring them to Amazon RDS. The last area I'm going to cover is what new features and launches we have recently brought to market around modernization of Windows workloads. So modernization is the process of replatforming and refactoring legacy applications to cloud-native technologies, so customers can take advantage of cloud economics and operating models. Our Windows modernization efforts specifically focus on transforming EC2 Windows customer infrastructure, applications, and databases to AWS native services. So modernization is probably an interesting and as well as a big challenge in customer environments. Whether you are moving database applications from SQL to Aurora, or converting .NET applications to newer versions of .NET, or moving from monolithic applications to microservices, it is a big step for our customers. One example that is often resource intensive and time consuming is migrating from SQL Server databases and their associated applications. When migrating your databases, you can automate the migration of your database schema and data using AWS Database Migration Service. But then there is often more work to do to migrate the application itself, including rewriting application code that interacts with the database. Many times you don't have access to all the code, or the people who wrote that code are no longer with the company. So basically, you run into a lot of different obstacles when you try to modernize your applications, is what we continue to hear from our customers. So modernization is all about transforming your legacy application and infrastructure so you can tackle these challenges. We recognize that there are various ways in which customers can modernize their workloads. That's why we offer a variety of options for workload modernization on AWS. Customers can modernize by replatforming their applications from VMs to containers and host them on services such as ECS, Fargate, or EKS, or by moving from self-serve to manage for workloads like SQL on RDS or open source technologies, so that you can escape licensing restrictions, reduce operational overhead, and also benefit from community-based innovation. This is why containers and CI/CD tools are now almost always Linux first. Another option is to refactor or rewrite your applications on AWS. An example of this is moving from .NET Framework to .NET Core or .NET 5, or going from SQL to Aurora, DynamoDB, etc. When it comes to helping our Windows customers, we're making tooling improvements to ease the modernization pathway for you. Last year, we released two new tools to accelerate your modernization journey. These two tools were App to Container and Porting Assistant for .NET. So let's talk about App to Container first. So with App to Container, you can modernize your .NET and Java applications into containerized applications. App to Container bolsters application portability, it increases development agility, standardizes your CI/CD processes, and reduces your operational costs. Since its launch last year, we have had customers containerize hundreds of applications using App to Container. The benefits of App to Container are basically threefold. Firstly, App to Container helps streamline operations by containerizing your existing application and standardizing on a single set of tooling for monitoring, operations, and software delivery. Second, it analyzes your applications and automatically generates a container image that is configured with the correct dependencies, network configurations, as well as deployment instructions for ECS or Kubernetes. Lastly, it allows you to easily deploy an existing application on the cloud that is provisioned with the correct networking and security configurations. Now, talking about Porting Assistant for .NET allows you to port your applications to .NET on Linux faster and take advantage of the performance, cost savings, and the robust ecosystem that surrounds Linux in general. Since its launch last year, we have had hundreds of customers that have used the Porting Assistant tool. We've analyzed over 14,000 solutions containing over 220,000 projects using Porting Assistance for .NET. So Porting Assistant scans your entire .NET Framework application portfolio to generate .NET Core compatibility assessment reports. This makes it easy to prioritize applications for porting based on the level of effort required. It then helps identify incompatible .NET Core APIs and packages from your .NET Framework applications and finds known replacements, which helps reduce the manual effort of searching for replaceable packages and APIs. Again, helping customers reduce the effort and complexity in doing that. We also recently published the open source UI for Porting Assistant, and it is available in GitHub. You can download it and use these tools free of charge, both App to Container and Porting Assistant for .NET from our website. Another really cool service we announced recently was Babelfish for PostgreSQL. Babelfish is a new translation layer for Amazon Aurora PostgreSQL that enables Aurora to understand commands from applications written for Microsoft SQL Server with no extra work. With Babelfish, Aurora PostgreSQL understands T-SQL, Microsoft SQL Server proprietary SQL dialect, and supports the same communication protocol. So your apps that were originally written for SQL Server can now work with Aurora with fewer code changes. As a result, the effort required to modify and move applications running on SQL Server 2014 or newer to Aurora is greatly reduced, leading to a faster, lower risk, and more cost-efficient migration. This service is currently available in preview, and at GA, it will be available in all commercial regions. There are three benefits of Babelfish. First, it is a highly scalable solution. It allows you to scale instantly from hundreds to thousands of transactions in a fraction of a second. Second, it helps reduce migration time and risk by reducing the amount of code changes related to database calls in an application and the amount of application code you have to rewrite. This reduces the risk of any application errors. And finally, it allows you to migrate your SQL applications at your own pace. With Babelfish, you can run SQL Server code side by side with new functionality built using native PostgreSQL APIs. Babelfish enables Aurora PostgreSQL to work with commonly used SQL Server query tools, commands, as well as drivers. As a result, you can continue developing with tools you're already familiar with. So, in summary, what I wanted to leave you with was that we have been building AWS workloads, Windows workloads on AWS for over 12 years. We have helped thousands of customers migrate, modernize, and build on AWS. And there are millions of instances now running on AWS running Windows workloads. Our customers experience 2 times higher performance, greater reliability, and we offer more ways to save costs on AWS. With flexible licensing options and our breadth of capabilities and support for the developer experience, AWS is truly the best cloud for running Windows workloads. With that, we will open up the line for any questions you may have.